I'm Cass. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be doing my March reading wrap-up. I read a total of 13 books this month, which is the most books I've read so far this year, which isn't really that impressive considering it's only March. But let's go ahead and get right into the video. So the first book that I read, I actually started reading at the end of February, and then I just read the rest of it in one go. And that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I 5-starred this book. It was so good. It was such a cutesy, fun little read, super easy, and I loved the relationship between Poppy and Alex. I remember I was reading this book in the morning, and there was a part where it was like really sad and emotional, and I was crying, and my mom walks in to my bedroom, and she's like, "Are you laughing or crying?" And I'm like, "Crying." She's like, "Okay." It just walks away because I told her it was about the book, and that's the reason I was crying. And she's like, "Okay." Definitely a cute, fun little romance, and I don't think the title accurately reflects what the book is about, but it was still fun nevertheless, and that was the first book that I picked up. The next book that I read, I had been wanting to read for a long while, basically ever since I figured out that it was a book. And that is The Devil Wears Prada. Now, The Devil Wears Prada is one of my favorite movies of all time. So to be able to read the book that it was based off of was so cool. I even tabbed it, which is heavenly. And I'm pretty sure I 3-starred this book. It wasn't the best thing in the world. The movie definitely was better than the book, which is like really rare to say. It was still cool, for me at least, to see bits and pieces that they took and put into the movie. I think as a read on its own, like if you haven't seen the movie or you don't really like the movie, I wouldn't pick this up because it's just not that good. The next read is part of basically 4 books that I wanted to read this month. I don't really set reading goals, however, I received 4 books from various friends for my birthday, and my goal this month was to read every single one of them. The first book was Gallant, which my friend Isabel got me. Now, this is by V.E. Schwab, and I loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but this book just didn't really do it for me. And V.E. Schwab herself even said that each of the books that she writes aren't for the same audience, so you might love one of her other books and then just not be a huge fan of another one. And this was the case for me. It wasn't my favorite. I'm pretty sure I 3-starred it. I felt like nothing really was happening. Didn't really leave an impression on me because I don't remember a lot that went down in this book just because I didn't really care that much. The next one was actually 2 books, so the next 2, and that was Kingdom of the Wicked and Kingdom of the Cursed. Now, this is 2 books so far, and there's going to be another one, I'm pretty sure, coming out later this year, which I am very excited for because I enjoyed these books thoroughly. I did 4-star both of them. I liked the second book a little bit more, so it was more like a 4-star and a 4.25. I really liked the love interest in these books, which was Wrath. The main character, however, she's dumb, but it's a vibe. Like, I had a lot of fun reading these. It wasn't the best book I've ever read, but I did enjoy them, and it did intrigue me enough to keep reading, and I love the plot twists, and I love the slow burn enemies to lovers. Very slow burn. Very well written, in my opinion, with the relationship, and I hate the cliffhanger that this ended on. They dropped like 3 bombshells and then peaced out. They're like, that's the end of the book. So I'm excited for the 3rd book to come out. I will be picking up the next one, but these are very good. Next was one of my highly anticipated releases for 2022, and that was A War of Two Queens. Now, I did my bullet journal themed around this book series for April, so I was excited. I know there was a lot of hate that surrounded this book. A lot of people did not like it, and I just want to know what they were on because this was probably my favorite book in the Blood and Ash series so far. It was so well written. I did get a little bit annoyed in the beginning simply because the first like 100-ish pages or more, the main characters, Cass and Poppy, refuse to say each other's name. So instead they say him or her, and then it's italicized. I hated that so much. The first few times I was like, okay, but then it just kept going, and I'm just like, say their name. So that annoyed me, but once I got over that, I love this book so much. I loved the relationship. I love the balance between the spice and the plot, and then the ending left so many things open. I don't know what's going to happen. I am very excited. The ending of this book blew my mind. It did not go in a direction I was expecting, so I will, of course, be picking up the 5th book whenever it comes out, I believe next year. Next is a fun book. I was at the library and I saw it, and I'm a sucker for anything medieval. So I picked up The Life in Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly. It was just a fun read. Basically, it's about Kit Sweetly, who works at the equivalent of medieval times, and girls aren't allowed to be knights, and basically she does this big petition and stand to try to have girls be able to be a knight, which is actually a rule at medieval times, like girls aren't allowed to be knights. I have looked into that because that would be so bloody fun to do. But yeah, sexism. I 3-starred this because I did enjoy it. It was supposed to be a fun read. I went in with super low expectations, but it had so much more potential, and the ending just kind of fell flat. It was very rushed at the ending, and it just wrapped up. It just had so much more potential. I did like the seamless inclusion of diversity in this book though, so that was cool, but as for plot, kind of fell flat. Now, the next book is the 4th book that I got for my birthday, and that was the Atlas 6. I was so confused for a lot of this book, and it was wordy, hella wordy for no reason. However, I get what the hype is about, because I did end up 4-starring it, even though I was not a fan of, a big chunk of the book. I think rereading this will be necessary before the next one comes out, and I'm looking forward to rereading it now that I understand how everything works a little bit more, and the plot twists and the characters. The only reason why I continued reading this book was because I don't remember their name. Originally, the only reason why I continued reading this book was because I really liked Libby and Nico's characters. They reminded me of 2 characters off of Never Have I Ever, and I'll put them up on the screen. I can't freaking remember their names. It kind of gave me those vibes, and I was like, maybe it'll be an enemies to lovers type thing. This book defied all expectations, and it was fascinating. A lot of it, I was just confused, okay? Just what they were talking about and the sciencey bits, my eyes glazed over. I ended up caring about each of these characters except for one, and you know which one if you've read this, that character themselves. I thought this was a standalone, so you can imagine how upset I was with the ending. But I did 4-star it. I will be rereading this before the next book comes out, and I will be reading the next book. So yeah, the Atlas 6. The next one is a book series my friend recommended, and it's an early 2000s dystopian, and it is the Delirium series by Lauren Oliver. I am so annoyed with these books. So my ratings for these is 3.25, 3.5, and then 3 stars. Basically, love is not allowed. It's considered dangerous, it's considered a disease. So once you turn 18, you're cured to not be able to experience love or emotions. So they basically cut out a chunk of your brain. And it's about the main character, whose name I don't remember because that's how much of an impression this left on me. Lena. It is about Lena, her experience in joining a resistance, which is all early 2000s dystopian, right? They go against society and they find love. Now, why I sighed a great big sigh is because the first one, they have character numero uno, love interest number 1, Alex, and it's all chill. That's a cute little relationship, and I guess spoilers ahead. They end book 1 with basically killing him off, and we don't see him for the entirety of book 2 until the last page. And during book 2, we're introduced to another character, which is Julian, and he is love interest numero dos, and then they introduce Alex back at the very end of the book. And this one falls between past and present, and I hated that. However, after finishing all 3, I realized this was probably my favorite one, simply because I love Julian as a love interest. I think he is adorable, he is perfect, and Alex in this book is a little bitch. And I liked how this one was written because it went between Hannah, who was Lena's best friend, It went back and forth between Lena and Hannah, and I enjoyed Hannah's story a lot more than I did with Lena, because Lena was just complaining about the love triangle she was now in between Alex and Julian. And you know the best part about this series is you don't get a resolution. I can't spoil to tell you who she ends up with because I don't even freaking know. It is the worst open-ending book I've ever read. I don't really recommend this series, but I mean, if you want to read it and just be frustrated, by all means, go ahead. This next one was my only reread for the month, and I don't remember anything that went down in it, so it kind of worked out perfectly, and that is Twilight. I'm creating a vlog series where I read each of the Twilight books because I've never read Twilight before. Well, I mean, I have read the first one, but that was ages ago, and I remember nothing because I thought she turned into a vampire at the end of this one. She doesn't, so that was dumb of me. I went in with the lowest of low expectations for this. I'm talking, wow, I'm gonna cringe my way through this book, guaranteed. And because I set such low expectations and went into it just to have a good time, I kind of had a good time. If you want to see my thoughts on this or my experience reading it, I do have a reading vlog that will be up very soon, so you can check that out. I will link that below and up above in the cards whenever I publish it. I'm excited to finish the rest of the series, and I never thought I would say I was excited to read Twilight, but middle school me is shaking. And lastly is a book that has been long overdue for me to reread. It is my favorite series in the world, and I got my friend to start reading it, and she's been texting me about it, and I'm like, damn, I have to start my reread. And this is the longest I've went without picking up a Ranger's Apprentice book. 5 out of 5 stars. I love it so much. I love it. Book 1, Ruins of Gorlan, Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan, my favorite book series of all time. I reread it every single year, and I, once again, enjoyed the heck out of this book series. I'm never gonna not enjoy, but those are the books I read. I'm not even gonna try to balance them because there are 13 of them, and I already can imagine that taking the thumbnail picture is going to be a nightmare. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know your reads or your favorite reads of the month. I love stalking y'all's reading habits. Also, I have my Goodreads link below in case you want to keep up with my reading real time. And I also have an Instagram, doodlewithcass, where I post bookish and journaling content. And that is all I have for you. If you want to see more from me, please do consider subscribing, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Toodles!